www.sasquatchlive.com. Hello, everybody out there in Sasquatch land. Today is our first interview with the one and only Michael Merchant, aka SnowWalkerPrime.
Now, since we talked before about, everything with the Bigfooters and the community and all that stuff, already a lot of people do not like you because of, you're kind of off the wall comedy, and some things that what you're doing is really making fun of the community. And a lot of people also think that you do not know what you're talking about. That who does he think he is? He thinks he's some kind of expert. He's trying to school us on things that we already know. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I'm just, I don't think I'm an expert. I'm just a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like people not liking it, I gave up a long time ago trying to make everybody happy.
Okay.
I don't think that I would disagree with the statement that I'm making fun of the community. I think the community is fantastic. I mean, the people that I'm making fun of are a select few, which, in my opinion, have made a mess of the community. I mean, come on, Rick Dyer and the freezer. I mean, that's the type of. I mean, you can see that on the National Geographic channel. You do a search for freezer, ice, Bigfoot in a freezer, and that's what comes up. And I mean, that reflects poorly on anybody interested in Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean,
those are the guys I make fun of. I don't, no. I think I met a lot of really nice people, and the fact of the matter is, I think that the eyewitness reports are probably, they're one of the things. I mean, there's a couple things, but the eyewitness reports are what convinces me that there's something out there.
Okay.
First, I don't know what, people go, but I've got a degree in biology. I mean, this is, I had a lifelong interest in animals. I had like a lot of people, I suppose, I had, a fascination with Sasquatch ever since I saw, the Patterson video at the cinema.
Yeah, just like me. That's what made me come to this, to do this.
Like
kind
a lot
of
of
thing.
people, and I just devoured every book I could get my hands on, anything to do with Sasquatch. And growing up in Maine, I grew up in the woods. I mean, I know this sounds like something from what is it? Abraham Lincoln, but I mean, I grew up in a log cabin.
Okay, but so if your experiences is what makes you want to get involved with this, is that some people have asked me, what is this guy's credentials? What makes him say what, can he really talk about footprints and all this stuff?
I have a bachelor's degree in biology from the University of Maine. I'm a field expert on edible funguses of the Northeast. I'm a survival expert. I don't know if you know this or not, I was on Out of the Wild, Venezuela, which aired on the Discovery Channel, I think like last year. You can now watch it on Netflix, where, they dropped off 9 of us, and everybody on that team had been hand-picked, supposedly. They were supposed to be, we had a couple so-called survival experts on there, but we lost about half the team. Everybody there was, a top athlete. Like one of the guys, Nick, was a ranger in the military, weightlifter, bodybuilder. We had a coast-to-coast marathon runner, bicyclist, a lacrosse coach, and me. And I was 20 years older than everybody else there. So, we were out there for 26 days. Lost 41 pounds. We were eating, bugs, and we had no food. Any food we had to find for ourselves, and we had to hike out of the jungle in Venezuela. Some of the most, unbelievably treacherous terrain on the planet.
So how long you been a biologist for now?
I think I've been a biologist for, when did I get my degree? I got my degree late in life, I got out of high school, I wanted to be a biologist. I went for 1 year of college, went into the Army, and, like a lot of people, I got sidetracked. But my real passion, always was being in the being in the forest, being in the swamp, doing, chasing down critters and stuff. So I went back. I think I graduated in about 2006. What is this? 12. So for 6 years, I did my degree in biology for 6 years.
Wow. Okay.
But I had
So basically, you know what you're talking about.
My father was a lobsterman, and then he was a dragger on the Grand Banks.
Okay.
Off from Canada. I went fishing with him, and when I was just a little kid, we built boats, built lobster traps. So our livelihood came from harvesting, animals. That's where our food came from. That's where our money came from. That's what we did.
So you know what you're talking about. So you're not just making things up. You're a biologist. So I think that, maybe once people see this, they might see that you have a lot of credibility to talk about what you're talking about. Now, a lot of the...
This is one of the reasons, Damien, that I actually went... I know this sounds far-fetched, but a good part of the drive, my drive to go and get my degree in biology, was that I had an interest in cryptozoology, and I needed the tools to better understand what's happening out there. I didn't have that scientific training. I didn't have that background, and I'm kind of... a little bit goofy, a little bit out there, so I really needed that structure, I think, to help me understand. So, that was one of the drives going to get my degree in biology, that I would have, just for myself, a better understanding of, is it possible? Are these creatures actually possible? You got to know about population dynamics. You have to understand the animals that we know about. You should be able to extrapolate from that, the behavior possibly, or the food requirements, the habitat requirements of an unknown cryptid. So, so it's really, it's been, this isn't just some fancy, I just picked up a couple weeks ago, I'm interested in Bigfoot. This isn't something I have been interested like a lot of people ever since I was a little kid. And I'm a bit of a comedian, I guess, and I like to, that's my, I suppose that's, the tool that I use. I like to use humor to kind of poke fun at the people that are so ridiculous. There's a lot of people that I have a great deal of respect for. Lauren Coleman, Dr. Melbrum. Those are like the leading cryptozoologists that I think have brought a lot of respect to this field. We need more of that, and we need less of, Freezer Boy. We need less of the nonsense. That's really what tarnishes the community, is when you get these nitwits that, go put a suit in a freezer and fill it full of roadkill. Because that labels everybody that believes in Bigfoot as a nutcase.
Well, a lot of the Bigfooters are saying that you're a nutcase. It could it be is because they really don't know about you? Could it be really that they don't understand really what you're about? And maybe they don't know that you're a biologist, and maybe now with this, they could say, hey, wait a minute, maybe Mr. SnowWalkerPrime knows what he's talking about.
Well, like I said, I don't think there really are any Bigfoot experts, but I would like to think that, naturalists, hunters, trackers, biologists, those are the type of people that you would think would have a little bit of insight into this animal. And I'm not saying that I have, there are plenty of people way smarter than me and have way more insight into this. We all have a special skill set, and I just do what I do. And some people, like I said, I'm a little goofy. People might say I'm a little crazy, but that's just one part of my. That's not advice. I'm not like that all the time. I'm just like that when I make a video.
Well, we have had several conversations before on things that have happened, and we even talked about the Hobie picture. And you made a video about that, and you commented with some the photos that that I found, and we had a deep conversation about that, and you decided to put that out there. You asked me if you could, and I let you do that, and even mention my name. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that photo? Do you think that photo helped the community, or do you think that it hindered the community?
The Hobie photo?
Yes.
I like I said, I don't really know whether she hoaxed it or was hoaxed, but in my mind, that looks like a costume. Now, I don't know. You know, a lot of people have brought up, well, that's not the photo that's from Claw, from the movie Claw. And they might be right. It might not be that. But I know what the fur of an animal looks like. And anybody that looks at, you know, their cat or their dog and then looks at that, I mean, even an orangutan has long fur. It's one of the primates that, you know, has long fur. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't even look close to that. So, no, I don't think, I don't know, you know, hindsight's always perfect vision, right? But, I mean, one of the team members there, Super Soylent, I think, put it out there pretty good, that if, you know, that if you killed it, you dress it. In other words, if someone takes a picture of Bigfoot, let's say that you get in the mail a picture from Bigfoot. Like a good example is the skunk ape picture from Florida that somebody took it, you know, and they sent it to the cops, and we have no idea who took that picture, and it looks like a giant orangutan. A lot of people have said it looks like a cutout, but the thing is, you'll never know. I mean, if someone sends me a photograph and they're like, well, you know, I don't want to be in the public eye, I think that I probably wouldn't be prone to release that to anybody, because if somebody actually has a photograph of Bigfoot, that's like winning the lottery. I find it difficult to believe in this day and age that people are unaware of Bigfoot, like the guy that claimed, you know, he shot the bear that was Bigfoot, and then ran over and shot the little baby Bigfoot. You know what I'm talking about, right? California?
Yeah, Justin Smear.
Yeah. You know, for him to turn around and say, well, I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know it was worth any money, that's a bunch of bollocks. You know,
so you think that this actually happened then? Do you think that they really did kill a Bigfoot?
I think they're full of it.
So you don't think that they really killed a Bigfoot?
No. None of their story makes any sense, Damian. I mean, think about it. The guy said that they had a license for starters. This guy is a hunter, right?
Okay.
I mean, I grew up hunting and trapping, you know, fishing, making fishing traps. I mean, this is what I did as just a little kid. I mean, from way back as far as I can remember, I have had to hunt and fish, you know. So, I mean, now I'm a Buddhist, so I don't like to kill things. But when I was in Venezuela, you know, I brought in more food than all the other team members combined. I mean, that was my thing. They finally just said, you know, just go hunt. Just you know, you go do your hunting thing. So, I have a little bit of insight into hunting, and as a biologist, I understand, you know, hunting regulations and laws, and respectable, you know, moral hunters only shoot what they have a license for. Now, this guy made the comment that the guy next to him said, don't shoot, it's, you know, it's not a bear. And then the guy even said it was wrong, and I think he made some reference that looked like a black kid to him, and he still shot the thing. Okay. So he's making this comment that, you know, well, the guy next to me is telling me not to shoot. I'm not really quite sure what it is. You know, I think maybe it's a guy in a suit, maybe there's going to be a production team around the corner, and the guy still shoots it. Well, that doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
Well, I mean, people have interpreted
a line of reasoning, and you know, these things don't make any sense. I think the guy is full of crap.
Yeah. Well, people have interpreted his story different manners. Naturally, he doesn't have a great following in the community. People think that he's a murderer, but that's something that I guess I'm gonna have to wait and see. So, talking about another subject in terms of the Ketchum papers. I mean, what, you know, you as a biologist, what do you think is going to happen if it is proven that that Bigfoot is real? You know, in your biologist's mind, what do you think? How's the community going to take this in terms of the scientific community, not just really the Sasquatch community?
Well, I mean, if you were to come forth and be able to prove, which my understanding is this is going to be a peer-reviewed paper that they're putting forth, so you're going to have other, you know, credible scientists that are going to be looking that over, and if this thing gets through that process, which is a pretty exhausting process to produce, you know, to produce a peer-reviewed paper, you have to produce the paper, you know, it gets reviewed a whole bunch of times, and if they have any problems as they send it back, you have to rewrite the paper more or less. So, I mean, it's a very exhausting process, but if that was to make it to the publication process and was to confirm, you know, DNA that we didn't know about, I mean, it would be shocking, it would be for the whole world, not just the Bigfoot community. I mean, you know, scientists around the world would be looking at that. What is that DNA from? I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll come out. I have no idea. They haven't released any of the findings yet. I mean, maybe they'll.
Do you think that
Remarkable.
do you think is it because it is going through the peer review? Is that why the paper hasn't come out? I mean, has been talked about for years already. You think that's the reason why it still hasn't come out?
Well, you know, I'm not in that camp. I'm not privy to anything going on. I mean, I don't know anything more about that than you do, but I just know. I mean, I have friends that have produced peer-reviewed papers, and I've helped, worked on their projects with them. So I just know it takes a while, but it probably shouldn't take, years. I mean, I would think it would take years to get one of these papers through. But.
Or do you think maybe it's because they didn't have all the samples they needed to actually prove what they're trying to prove? And it was something more recent they got, and that's why it's delayed.
I would love for this report to come out and to give us some hard evidence to support the existence of Sasquatch, but, you have to wonder, if they keep dragging their feet, do they actually have, do they, I mean, I think you interviewed Dr. Ketchum, and I think she made the comment that, in her mind, they were real, right? I mean,
yeah, she did say that that Bigfoot does exist, and she actually gave a hint that that's what's going to come out of the paper in the interview.
Yeah, I mean, that would be unbelievable. So I don't really know what the delays are.
Yeah.
I don't know who they've got.
Do you think it's something? Do you think it's something about?
Bigfoot.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but do you think it's something about money?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you got the Erickson project that is, shut down. We don't know nothing about what's going on. He supposedly has a production of a documentary. We also saw, some reports that also Dr. Ketchum was doing a documentary. And coming up here soon in May is going to be the conference, which basically is talking about hairy men. That's they even gave the name. I don't know if you saw my last article that I wrote about Homo sapien hirsuti or hirsuti, whatever. I don't know how to say it in Latin. And that's the terminology they're using. The Latin, the scientific name that I think is going to be used for Sasquatch. So, and then also Dr. Melville Ketchum is going to be presenting himself at that conference. So, in a way, it was surprising to me to see that. Could it be that the paper is coming out during that time?
Well, pretty much in all things, money influences stuff, politics. I mean, we would like to think everybody is on the up and honest, but I mean, deception is the name of the game in nature. That's why we have mimicry. That's why we have camouflage. There's a benefit of being deceptive, to lying about people. And for humans, a lot of that incentive, is money and power.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you have a documentary, right, you think that if something like this comes out and I have a documentary about this, well, somebody's going to want to buy it, or somebody's going to want to show it somewhere, a TV network, and that is money. You can actually sell. If somebody likes a documentary, you could sell it and make money, right?
Oh, yeah. I wonder, I mean, I don't know. I suppose, I haven't really researched Dr. Ketchum's credentials, but I mean, I guess she's a veterinarian, right?
Yeah, she's a veterinarian, and she owns a DNA lab. Actually, it was, from what I understand, for animals. Really, and that's how she got involved.
Oh, yeah. Because she has DNA.
She did where she's from. She used to go to testify in court about animal cases and things like that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
If her paper makes it and it gets all signed off and gets put out in there, and they've got some positive findings, yeah, I mean that would be exactly what people, the Bigfoot supporters, have been looking for, because that would be some hard evidence right there. I mean.
So you think that maybe it's not really just about money. It also could be just because they might want to do this because they believe also in Sasquatch.
This is the thing. People, you talk about belief, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I kind of made a joke about it. But somebody came into my channel and they're like, "Do you believe in Bigfoot? Do you believe? Do you believe?" I don't think belief. I mean, belief is to faith and to religion. And I don't believe that I need to have, that's not necessary to study an animal. You go forth and you're studying something. It's not a matter of believing. You find out if it's real or not by the evidence, by the data. I mean, if you collect, you go into the woods and you find footprints, something's leaving those footprints. I don't have to believe it.
And talking about that,
it's like just accepting something because somebody comes to me and says, well, I saw something. Well, I understand that they saw something, but, that's not me. I can respect people seeing things and, they believe it, but that's just not enough for people that haven't seen it. It's not enough to, to come back. Like, people went to Africa and were reporting, gorillas, but they were just stories, just like they reported mermaids. It wasn't until somebody went there and shot one and brought back, the pieces, brought back the body, that they could establish they actually were mountain gorillas.
Correct.
I think it was like 1847 that the lowland gorilla, was discovered by Western civilization.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it works. You have to have something. You have to come out of there with something more than, just a blurry photo or, a creative story to tell.
Okay, so...
I'm not just...
and I'm sorry to cut you off again. So, so do you believe that there's enough proof to actually show that Sasquatch exists right now?
To prove it?
Well, I mean, that it exists. Based on the Patty film and the people have testified and witnesses and footprints and all the things that have been happening through the last 4 decades, do you think there's enough evidence to to believe that Sasquatch exists?
I think there's enough evidence to believe that people are seeing something. Now,
Okay.
I don't know what they're seeing.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have, that's what I'm saying. See, here's the thing that bothers me, is the almost complete lack of photograph and video evidence. I mean, you've got the Patterson video, which I think could very well be a real animal. I mean, one of the other members of my team thinks it's a guy in a suit. I haven't seen that yet. What is it, Orcott's razor? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's a premise in science that says that the most reasonable answer should be the right answer. In other words, you shouldn't just, like, you see something that's kind of blurry down in the, or let's say, like, find Blob Squatch when he sees, something flying through the trees. Or a classic example is the New York video that finding Bigfoot, Cliff and Matt both confirmed that was a baby Sasquatch. Now, if you were to go by the premise of the most reasonable explanation should be the right one, that being a juvenile Sasquatch would be the last conclusion that you would come to. The first conclusion you would come to is it's, there's a whole bunch of people there partying, they've got balloons and kites and all this stuff, and this, you can see a figure. You would say, well, that's probably a person. It's the right size of a person, and they're probably pulling on a string with something stuck in the tree. That would be the most reasonable explanation you would come to. Then secondly, you might go to the thing of going, well, it kind of looks like a monkey, and it kind of does. So, well, could it be, what kind of monkeys look like that? Spider monkeys, gibbons, lemurs. Do people have them for pets? Yes. This is all something that could possibly happen. And then they go to the thing, well, okay, there weren't any pets allowed into the festival. Yeah, and there probably wasn't any acid allowed and any nitrous and any pop, but I guarantee that stuff was in there. So somebody could have smuggled a monkey in if they wanted to, right?
Okay.
You follow my line of reasoning here?
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
So, using the scientific principle, the first conclusion you would come to is it's just an inanimate object, person pulling on a string. The second conclusion you would come to is something that we know exists. Spider monkey. Somebody could have one for a pet. Somebody could have released it. That's not a very likely scenario, but it does fall within the realm of possibility. It's not like Wile E. Coyote's chasing Roadrunner up that tree. I mean, it's something that we know could happen. Those would be the conclusions they should have came to. How they jumped to the conclusion that it was a baby Sasquatch is beyond me, because they had to first go past the fact that it could have been a spider monkey, which I'll give them, it could have been a spider monkey. Now they're saying, okay, it's alive, which I'm not even sure it is, and now it looks like a spider monkey. It's not a spider monkey. It's a baby Sasquatch. And to my knowledge, no one's ever reported Sasquatch looking like a fucking lemur. I mean, this is the type of people say, well, you ridicule stuff. I ridicule that type of non-logic and non-reason, a chain of events that just doesn't add up. I mean, that's not how you look at information and come to a conclusion about something. I mean, that's using an opinion bias. That's somebody that's saying, I know Sasquatch exists, and I'm going to force this information to fit my belief structure. I don't think that's helpful in the field of science.
So what are your thoughts on the FB guys finding Bigfoot on Facebook with the little given video that they were trying to relate to Sasquatch bipedal walk through this given from the video? What do you think about those guys? Do you think that they're
what bipedal walk are you talking about?
Well, I don't know if you ever got a chance to see the FB guys do that little video about, I don't know what it was. It was one of those a monkey or a primate, and they were saying that with the video that it shows the kind of walk that Bigfoot has. Do you ever get to see that?
I haven't seen that video, but the videos that I have seen that guy produces, he has zero, ability to use logic and reason. The conclusions that he comes to are not based upon summation of the facts. It's just based on pure fantasy. He just makes stuff up as he goes along. I mean, he just draws one erroneous conclusion after another, and then comes to the, to the result that he wants. I mean, how many times has he been caught, verifying something that's Bigfoot that was a hoax? I'm aware of one video where these kids did a video, and he confirmed it. Head bob, had all his criteria, and then they released a video showing that they did the tongue clicking, what he thought was rocks, was, just bugs flying. I mean, this is what I'm saying. If somebody, now, people can make mistakes. Like, I have a lot of respect for Dr. Jeff Mulbrough, and he, at one point, kind of verified a couple things. He kind of verified the Jacob bears, and he also kind of verified a footage that was presented to him as footage of Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
But to his credit, he kept investigating that. He found out it was a publicity stunt, and as soon as he found out, he publicly announced that. So I place a lot of significance because, it's not that you can't make a mistake, but when people make these mistakes, like this Facebook find blob squatch, and then never miss a beat, never come back and go, oh, by the way, I was mistaken on that. That was a hoax. I was duped. I mean, that's all they really should do. I mean, that's what a legitimate researcher would do. I mean, if they were duped, they'd come out and say, geez, I'm not perfect. I was duped. But no, Facebook find blob squatch, that guy, he's a nitwit. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. These are the people right here that I think are not helpful to the Bigfoot community. I mean, I know a lot of people like that guy because, he confirms all.
Well, he has like over 10,000 following on Facebook, so I think it is.
But the thing is that this is a real animal, Damian, based upon the fact that we don't have hardly any photographs and almost no video, and in my opinion, no photos taken from a trail camera. The animal has to be extremely rare to start with. It's got to be extremely rare. And then on top of being extremely rare, it also has to be unbelievably elusive to avoid, coming in contact with those things. And any other animal that I'm aware of, I don't care how rare it is, you can go into the forest and get a photograph of it. We have photographs of animals that, there's only a few dozen of them or whatever in the whole world.
That is true.
So, if this thing does exist, and the thing is, we have good footprints, there are a number of footprints. Like, sometimes I think there are a lot of footprints that are hoax that have been put forth as being real footprints, but I've seen footprint casts, which I do think are from living animals, and I've personally spoken to people and seen a whole bunch of other people, whatever, on video, whatever, doing their reports, and I've said this before, I don't think they're all lying, and I don't think they're all confused, which leaves a group of those people that I think are seeing something, just amazing.
Yes.
That's out there. That's what drives me, I think that those, but I don't think we need to inflate it to the point where, everybody's seeing Bigfoot all the time. I don't think that's helpful. I think we really need to lift the bar. I mean, I suppose, some people like my humor, and some people don't, and some people take it like, that I'm critical of the community, and that's not true at all. I think the community is fantastic. I mean, I've met a whole bunch of really passionate, intelligent, really nice people, creative people, but there's a few, bad eggs in there that, to the rest of the world, make people that are looking into Bigfoot look like a bunch of nuts. When I'm in Maine, I have to, I meet a lot of different game wardens, I meet a lot of different biologists, and I do a lot of work. I do rare marsh bird surveys and things of that sort where I'm going way up north, so I have to go through these gates. And so I'm talking to a lot of, loggers and a lot of people working in the woods. And every time I encounter somebody, I ask them if they've seen Bigfoot, and they all look at me like I'm nuts. Like I should be put in an institution somewhere. Nuts. I mean, that's how crazy they look at you. And part of that, I think, is that when you go online, you type in, Bigfoot, you get things like Facebook find blob squatch. You get these ridiculous, people that are putting all this ridiculous crap out there. I mean, some of it's kind of fun, but if this thing is real, and people really want it, want serious people to be looking at it, I think we need to poke a little fun at the ridiculousness of it, just kind of level that playing field a little bit.
So you feel,
you think that,
Michael, that people are not really getting the right education about Bigfoot? I mean, even the conference just passed, I was a witness to it, and I saw that not too many people actually were looking at the conference. And Dr. Meldrum had an amazing discussion on his footprints, on the cast, and he also talked about bipedalism, how it works with Bigfoot, which I thought was amazing. And I realized that, when I was watching it, that there wasn't really too many people, actually, for a big community, only a few people were available to actually see it. So you think, is it that people are not really educating themselves to understand more about Bigfoot, and the people that are supposedly saying that they know about Bigfoot really don't really know what they're talking about? Because like you said, and I've said it myself, there is no 101 class in a university about Bigfoot. What you know about Bigfoot is either you research it on your own, or you maybe had some conversation with somebody that's really doing it that might be a real scientist. So you feel that's the reason that it's miseducation and miscommunication with the community that makes them believe these guys.
well, I think people will believe a lot of crazy notions, but I think I've run across a lot of people in the community, as you put it, which, maybe they don't have a degree in zoology or biology or something, but they're, devoted, like I said about birders, they're devoted naturalists, they're, astute trackers. They take the time to go out there and, they're looking for the real evidence. I think, maybe the bigger problem, because no matter what field you go into, you're going to have people believe, kind of silly notions, but I lost my train of thought. What did you just say?
Well, what I was trying to ask you really is, do you think that people actually are not educating themselves like they should? They want to believe in Bigfoot,
yeah,
they're not educating
the bigger
themselves.
problem is, Damien, it's not so much education, it's this soundbite mentality, Every day somebody wants some news about Bigfoot.
Are you there, Michael?
Believe me.
Oh, you cut off a little bit. Okay. Can you repeat what you said? I'm sorry.
I think that's the problem. Every day somebody wants something new and fantastical, and I mean, I've harped on this before too. We know snow leopards exist, but when some biologists went over there to study snow leopards, I think, I've taken this from memory, but I believe it took them 18 months before they got the first photograph. So they were there for a year and a half before, with a trail camera, they managed to get a single photograph of one of these critters. I mean, they were finding tracks and stuff. So I mean, this type of process, if you've got something that's this rare, and we've been 100 years and we haven't caught one, and it's been over 40 years since we've had nothing to duplicate the Patterson video in the last 40 years. So I wouldn't expect, this stuff for somebody to be. It's like every time you turn around, somebody shot one, somebody's put one in a freezer. I wouldn't expect that. So when somebody tells me that, right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, this is probably a hoax. 99% of them are hoaxes. That's what I'm looking at. It's probably a hoax. That's what I would go with. Unless they had a lot more than that. I mean, yeah, education is key, but it's this mentality that, every day we should get some news about this. So people are just ready. They're just ready for freezer boy to come by and go, I got one in the freezer. Everybody wants that news. Everybody's ready. The media hops on it. You get all these people that then confirm that it's real, and it just takes off. It's just like the Hobie photograph. That appeared to me to be well orchestrated, but, that's just my opinion. I don't know. I agree with Super Soylent. Someone sends you a photograph of Bigfoot, send it back to them. Tell them to release it to the public.
So you think that Hobie was actually, she knew exactly what she was doing, that she was trying to just get more publicity for herself and her American.
Tell me, what does it look like to you? I don't know the woman, but if I didn't know anything about the woman and you look at the chain of events, I got these photographs, I'll release them in 2 weeks or a month or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've sat on them for 4 years. They're right up there with the Patterson video. What does that sound like to you?
Okay. So I mean, somebody from the outside could see it as, she's trying to get attention, and others could say no, she's just trying to do the right thing, which a lot have said. That she voiced it, and because she wrote.
Maybe she thinks it's real,
mm-hmm.
but it's I don't know. It's pretty convenient, I mean, a lot of these people, they like the attention. They want to be in the spot. That's what I'm saying. They have a motive to do something. I mean, we all operate under a motive. We all do things because of the reaction we're going to get, and if we get a positive reaction that enforces our behavior, I mean, that's positive reinforcement. We're animals just like anything else. I mean, yeah, when someone's doing a behavior and they're being rewarded for it, you have to ask, why are they doing it? What's in it for them? I mean, there are a lot of people. I would love to get a photograph or evidence to support and prove the existence of Sasquatch. I mean, who wouldn't? I want this thing to be real. I don't want this to be a myth. I want it to be real, but I need to have the data and the evidence to come to that conclusion. That's why when people say, do you believe? I believe there is a biological phenomenon, a mystery going on here that we should put some resources into to find out what's going on. But
so you think the community needs to get together. So the community got together and we all did this together to try to find the Sasquatch. Then more than likely we might have a better chance than the little camps and groups that are separated and people saying this and I'm saying that, as we see sometimes in the community.
No, I think they're doing fantastic. I mean, you've got a lot of people out there using a lot of different methodology. No, that's what I'm saying. 90% of the community, I think, is fantastic. Given the fact that most of these people are just lay people, just normal people, you've got some really skilled hunters, naturalists. I mean, you go and you look at the photographs. A lot of these people are living in the woods. They have pictures of bears and caribou and moose, and then they turn around and they tell you they're having an encounter with something they can't explain. There's a lot of credibility there. I mean, that really perks my interest. I want to know what's going on there. So, it's just there's just a few people that are in this to try to make money off it, and they have no interest in whether Bigfoot is real or not. I mean, they might not even believe. I don't think Freezer Boy even believes Sasquatch is real. It's just a game to him. They're just trying to bring in some money. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see the camping trips that people, whatever they $500,000 or whatever it is to go, camping to look for Bigfoot barbecue. I mean, I wouldn't expect, you bring 50 people into a forest somewhere that a really elusive animal's gonna stick around. But I mean, that's not how I would. Let's say you wanted to go, just pick a different animal. Let's say that you wanted to go and track down a wolverine. Would you take 100 people into the area to go? No, you'd probably go in just by yourself or just a couple people. I mean, that's how that would work. It's not this MTV thing.
So Michael, I mean, what is your real message that you're trying to put out there? Because I mean, naturally, now that you are out there, and people are following you, and people see what you're saying, and some do not agree, and others do. I mean, what is the message? Tell people from the community exactly what is you're trying to achieve with your, your sometimes, hilarious videos.
Probably I probably have two messages, I guess. One is I think this is a real phenomenon that deserves our attention. And secondly, I think we need to be a bit more critical of the evidence coming in. I just don't think we're critical enough. There's too many, everybody's got a blob squatch. Everybody comes forward, here's a picture of a blob squatch. I heard a noise, I saw something, I got this blurry picture. Maybe you did see something, but I can't tell you how many photos. Every day people are sending me things, what do you think this is? Can you confirm? Doesn't that look like fingers? Doesn't that look like a face? It could look like anything, but, you're going to need more than that. I think we just need to be a bit more critical. Kind of do the opposite of what Facebook Find Blob Squatch does. He confirms everything. I think even the Finding Bigfoot show, stepped up their critical thinking skills. I think they responded to the criticism that they had during the first season, even though I still think everybody on that crew except Renee is pretty opinion biased. And by opinion biased, I mean that they've already got a preconceived notion. They're not out just looking at the evidence. They already in their mind are confident and comfortable with the fact that Bigfoot exists. So they're operating to get the evidence to fit into that paradigm that they have. And, that can be kind of dangerous. You really need to take the data and interpret the data without a preconceived notion of where you're going.
And so you're saying basically, if you passionately believe in Bigfoot, then you might have a bias because you already say that he does exist, or you've seen it, or you think you've seen it. So you are your pre conception of what it is might be a little bit tinted because I know it exists. So that has to be the sign of Bigfoot out in the woods.
I'm not really critical. I mean, I have said some things, but I think Matt Moneymaker has done an incredible job at bringing Bigfoot into the spotlight and getting a lot of resources thrown at it. And I mean, I know they're making a TV show, and having been on a TV show myself, I know how you can be quote mined and edited out of sequence, and how the producers can make that show go in a direction that you had no intention of. So I like Matt, because I think Matt, even though I think those guys are opinion biased, I still like him, because I think he's honest and sincere. I poked a little bit of fun at him.
Which a lot of other people don't think that, so.
But we need more of that, we need to have, I think it's really good that we got people going out with their eyes and ears open, and you got people going out into nature, because even if you're not seeing Bigfoot, you're seeing other stuff. But no, we need these people out there. Sooner or later, somebody will come up with something valid. I mean, people are seeing this thing. I can understand, I made this comment, somebody kind of crapped on it, but and you probably know better than I do, but it's only been in the last 20 or 30 years that, everybody has started running around with a digital camera. Back when I was a kid, we had, the little point-and-shoot cameras, you clicked it, you ratcheted the film forward and clicked the next shot. I mean, that's what we had. Most people didn't run around in the woods, in the forest with a camera, let alone a video camera. And now pretty much everybody has got these things.
Yeah. But the thing about that though is, Michael, is that it's not high-end stuff, and that's another issue. I mean, that we've seen that a lot of people are saying, well, I mean, with all these cameras, with all these videos, and all these things that are going on, and people, but really people don't walk in the woods with an expensive, $1,000 high definition camera, or an expensive, $3,000 and up high definition video camera. So, that's
the
what
other problem that you get. Well, the other problem you got, Damien, is that most of these encounters are, under 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got a pretty nice camera, and when I go to turn it on, it just when I press the power button, it's a good solid 3 seconds before I can start taking a photograph of anything. And just a couple weeks ago, when we were out calling, we called in a bobcat, and it crossed 2 bobcats actually. So one crossed the road in front of me, and then the other one crossed the road further up, and I never even saw the second one. And the first one, I saw it, but by the time I got the camera turned on, it had already gone across the road. And I had the same problem last year when I saw a wolf cross the road. So these are animals that I know exist, that I've got tracks of, and that people see them and take photographs of them, but it's just really tough. I could see how, Sasquatch, this animal is incredibly rare, incredibly elusive. Really, overall, we don't have that many eyewitness reports. I mean, we do. They're probably numbered into the thousands, but I'm just saying. I can see how, we haven't got a photograph of it yet.
So basically,
I mean, how many photographs do you know circulating on the internet from people, of wolverines or mountain lions? There's just not that many. I mean, people see these things, they shoot them and trap them, and there are a few photographs of them, but there's still not that many photographs. If you were to probably figure out the ratio, the progression of a rarity of an animal versus how many photographs are taken, it wouldn't surprise me that we don't have photographs of Sasquatch yet. That in of itself doesn't tell me the thing doesn't exist. I mean, that's, you know, you can't prove that something doesn't exist. Really.
So you think that Sasquatches might be at the end of their extinction, maybe?
If it's a real creature, and if there is any credibility to the number of sightings that we are seeing, I think their populations are increasing.
Okay. So you think that they're not becoming extinct, but they're getting...
Now, see, there's another thing. Well, the other problem with the sightings is that the sightings have increased, you know, along with the shows and the movies and all that. So it's hard to determine whether those sightings have increased because people have become more aware of it and they're more comfortable reporting the sightings. Were they getting the sightings before and just not talking about it, and now it's more acceptable, so people are, you know, reporting their sightings? Or does the increase in sightings mean that there's an increase in the population number of these animals? I would like to think they're real. I would like to think their population is increasing, but we won't know that until we, you know, get some better data or figure out what it takes to consistently be able to study this thing if it's real. I mean, first we have to prove it's real, and then figure out why it's so darn hard to find.
Now, if it does turn out that Sasquatch or / Bigfoot is real, would you like to take part in studying? Do you think that if it does turn out and we find, you know, their habitat and where they're going, would you be one of those persons that would like to do that and maybe do something like Jane Goodall did with the primates, with the gorillas?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, anybody that's a biologist would love to do something like that, but I'm sure, you know, there are people, once again, smarter and better qualified than me that would probably, you know, go do that. But no, I mean, that'd be a dream come true. Finding some evidence would be a dream come true. See, the thing is, I live in Maine. It's 95% forested. I spend all my time in the forest. And I can identify pretty much any animal in North America, you know, that leaves a track on the ground. And I've encountered, I got a video of this tree structure. This is one of the things we found a couple of years ago, which just really, I couldn't, you know, it's one of those things where a bear could have done it, a moose could have done it, but it wouldn't have made any sense, really, for them to have you know, it's not consistent with their behavior. And there weren't any bear tracks, and there were moose feeding in the area, but we come by this tree that, you know, 9 feet up, the top of it had been snapped off. And no matter what direction you went in, it would have X's. It was like this maple tree, and you could see where, you know, every month or every few weeks, every time it would grow a new shoot out of it, something would come by and would snap the shoot, not break it off, but just bend it down, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just couldn't...
So you think it was kind of like
it had been freshly broke, and the turgor pressure hadn't even gone out of the leaves yet. I mean, the leaves were still... So that means that had to have been just recently broke, like, you know...
Do you think it was like a marker or something, and somebody was trying to mark the area?
Well, it wasn't a person, because we were way, way, way out in the woods, and we had to go through a whole bunch of different logging roads that got progressively more remote, and I could tell that no one had been down that road, you know, for a couple months. So it wasn't a person. It either had to be a moose or bear, and it didn't make any sense for a moose to do it because, you know, sometimes moose will go up. This was just a regular red maple, but moose will browse upon striped maple, but it's a different species of tree. And what they'll do is they'll go over to the striped maple and they'll straddle it with their sternum and push it down so they can get to the top, and then they'll browse on the top of the tree, right? And then they walk, they move on to the next one. But I mean, that has a very, you know, definitive look to it. I know what that looks like. I know what that tree is. This was a different species of tree. They hadn't eaten any of the foliage off it, and it wasn't a single break. I mean, this was a repeated thing, kind of like, here's what struck me. Coyotes, foxes, a lot of critters will leave sign marker. You know, they'll follow a consistent trail, like at crossroads in the woods oftentimes. If you know where to look, you'll find little piles of scat, because the canines will go through there, and at those crossroads, they'll leave their scat, and they'll urinate to leave an olfactory cue you know, that's a message to the other canines in the area that this is our territory, we're traveling here. Pretty much, you know, most animals will do this. And that's what this struck me like. It was something that was being repeatedly done. Something was going to this tree, and the base of the tree was pretty thick. It was too thick for a moose to have pushed over, but the top of it was all, you know, there was like, you know, 15, 20 different breaks of different ages, and they were broken in such a fashion that when you looked at the tree from the road, you know, it formed kind of an X. It was a puzzle, you know, to me. I mean, I went back and I told, you know, my boss, he's a biologist, he's, you know, 50 years in the field, and he's like, oh, it's a moose. And I go, yeah, but, no, it didn't look like a moose. It wasn't, the raspberry bushes in around it were really thick, and a moose going through there would have pushed those raspberry bushes down. I mean, I didn't find the sign indicating it was a moose. I didn't find sign indicating it was a bear. So, what the hell is it, you know? And it's up in an area where, you know, we get very few reports in Maine, but we probably get very few reports in Maine because there's so much woods. You know, you could put something in the woods up here, and, you know,
it could be a great habitat to hang out. I mean, just as a Sasquatch, hey, nobody's gonna see me here. You know, nobody really comes around.
Right, it's such a huge area, you know.
Maine is big. People forget that.
Well, that's one thing that I've run across, and then I have spoken to people personally up here that have told me they've seen Bigfoot in Maine. And most people up here in Maine don't want to tell you that because, you know, you'll be ridiculed for saying that.
Yeah, and what do you think about that, about people ridiculing others that say they see Bigfoot, you know? Do you think that you know, and even in the community we see that, I mean, we have skeptics that come to our blogs and you know, say that Bigfoot is not real. What do you say to those guys?
I just think they're being mean. I mean, what gives you the right to tell somebody else what they saw? You know, I don't.
I mean, have you seen Bigfoot?
No, I mean, the day is the only encounter, that potential encounter that I might have had. That day we saw that tree that was all broken up. As we're driving out, and now mind you, we were almost to the Canadian border. We were in the far northeastern part of Maine, up in the area of Presque Isle, that area where they have, you know, that they seem to have a rash of Bigfoot sightings up there. And we were leaving. And here's another thing, the woods were real quiet. You know, a lot of people will say, you know, I felt something watching me. Or, you know, the woods were real spooky that day. And I've seen people criticize them for that, but I don't think that's really fair because there's a thing called subjective or objective, you know, like an interpretation of something. And the subjective is, you know, you feel a certain way. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're in the forest, there's a background, like a white noise, you know, the birds, the mice, and you know, there's a lot of living creatures in there. So people go into the forest and they might not be aware of the fact that you're keyed into that background noise of what's happening. This is how other animals will exhibit almost a supernatural ability to know you're in the forest, because the instant you walk into the forest, the crickets stop making their noises, the frogs stop chirping, you know, if you're stomping on the ground, the mice will stop moving. I mean, if you go into the forest and just sit down for 15, 20 minutes, the place comes alive, right? So when people say, oh, it was real spooky, you know, oh, it was spooky. The thing that's spooky is that they're not hearing that background noise. Now, they might not be hearing that background noise because it's a predator in the forest. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
So when people are in the forest and they go, you know, it's real spooky, and then I saw Bigfoot. The thing is that the other critters probably were aware that apex predator was in the forest, and they're, you know, they're putting their heads down, they're being quiet. So this was the type of atmosphere that was in this area of the woods we were in. And as we're driving out, I saw something. Both of us saw it, me and Davey saw it. It ran, this is the weird thing, it ran on all fours like a bear, but it was colored like a coyote, and it didn't have any tail. You know, it just had weird fur. Like the fur was longer than the fur almost looked like a coyote to me. Coyotes will have that multi-layered fur, you know, kind of like a husky or something will have.
Okay.
and but it ran with that weird. I don't know if you've ever seen a bear run, but bears oftentimes will stand up, and when they get ready to go, they'll go down, and their ass kind of pops up in the air. They kind of get this rolling thing. It ran like that. It just was weird. It made me feel weird looking at it because I couldn't place it. I couldn't identify what it was. We went over. We couldn't find any tracks, and I mean it was a pretty good sized critter. It was, the big, good sized bear size, like 200 pounds or something.
Okay.
So I don't know what it was, and I don't know what caused all the. I don't know what had mutilated that tree.
Yeah. So maybe it was watching you guys while you were there.
Well, it's possible. I mean, something did that to that tree, and I saw the ass end of an animal that I couldn't identify, but it was running on all fours. And usually Sasquatch is reported upright, but occasionally people will report it switching from a quadrupedal to be a bipedal, and it might turn around and go into a quadrupedal stand. So.
And that's been reported. There's been reports that they've seen. There's even a video, which is a pretty good video, that you see something running in its four. That it doesn't look like a bear, and it looks like it's running on its four legs. So it's strange to see that, and actually you saying that and seeing something like that, which correlates with some of the sightings. So
you talk to people that see a lot of animals. Like I've seen a lot of animals. I know what an animal moves like, and that thing when I saw it, made me feel weird because it's like, what is that? I couldn't. Normally within, just a split second, less than a second, I see an animal, I can identify what species it is because, I don't even have to see that much of the animal. And I didn't know what this thing was. Now, the only other occurrence I had, I was up in an area just close to that area, but a little bit further south. Once again, we were in a really remote area. I was up there doing duck brood surveys, which means that I, get up at 3 in the morning, and then I have to do another one at night. And we were camped in this really, really, really remote gravel pit, and I was all by myself, and I was woken up in the middle of the night by like rocks, and I kept getting out. Sometimes rocks will trickle down on their own out of a gravel pit, but I mean this was like something was up there either walking around the edge of the gravel pit or throwing rocks down the gravel pit. I don't know what one it was, but it was just weird. It was a really weird night, and that's right in that same area where, pretty much every year we get at least somebody will report a sighting up there. It's really hard to follow up on these sightings because a lot of these sightings will get posted, to either Bufo or I think it's the Northeast, but they tend to keep the witness, secret. So it's not like you can get it unless you're in the know, in that loop. You can't get access to go and research what's going on
and find the area.
Well, they usually list the area, but it would be really helpful for me, to go. I think Cliff brings this up. I think Cliff is very opinion biased, but by talking to the witness, you can read that report, but you go eye to eye with a person and talk to them, you can glean a lot more information out of that.
Yeah. To see if they're really saying the truth and stuff like that.
Even more so if you can get the person to go into the woods with you. Have them show you where they saw the thing. And that's real important. Still there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. Oh. No, I'm just thinking about everything you said, and
I lost you, man.
So we've had a long conversation. It's been about an hour now, and I want to thank you. I think with this we can get people to understand what you're trying to do, Michael, and hopefully they'll learn something new about this, and by you giving your ideas, maybe the community can see a different side of it, because I think sometimes one part I like about you is that you don't take yourself so seriously either, and I think that's what's going on in the community. I think sometimes we do take ourselves too serious, and it can make us sometimes not really see what's going on.
Bigfoot Evidence, blogspot.com.
I used to see stars as the nightlight dreamed. I would fly to the sky in my white Nikes, fly so high till you can't find me.